creation is waiting for the sons of daughters to go, here I am. True power to change the world comes through coming out as a son or daughter of God. I'm not what I have. I'm not what I do. You cannot find me alone in the color of my skin. You cannot find me alone by where I was born. You can't even define me by my sin. The only way you can define me is that I am a son of God.
I've titled my message in this series, Church of Power, I've titled my message, The Turnaround. The Turnaround. You ever had a moment in life where things just turned around really quickly? Yeah? I'll give a couple quick analogies to kind of get you connected with me, and we'll get going. I was a junior in high school, straight A student, 4.0, just top of my class. What? What? Top of my class. I did graduate barely. And I was a junior, and I for the youth to understand, this is pre-Christ. This is when I was kind of saved because I grew up in church, but then God did something in my life. So understand this was my old me, right? I was taking a test. Any good test takers? Nobody. We got that church. Ben, I could see you. Yeah. Sarah, no. And I was taking this test and I didn't study, which was a bit of a normal thing. And I got really good at cheating, right? And I'm not proud of this. It is no longer a part of my daily life. But I was kind of looking around, you know, that kind of glancing to see who's going to hook you up, like who's got your boy. Like my neighbor next to me is like, I'm like, all right, not him. And I look over and this girl next to me, she kind of like glanced and she like shifted her paper. So I'm like, we're locked in. I got you, you got me, whatever. Do all the tests, all the boxes. She shows me everything. She's flipping back and forth. And then you don't turn it in first, right? If you turn it in first, you're either the straight A student or you're the guy who doesn't give a rip. And like, I'm failing this anyways. So like I wait, third person in line, just kind of slip it up there. I walk back, I go to give her that eye contact of like, thank you. And she's erasing every single answer. Yeah. It was in that moment that I knew I couldn't trust humanity or mankind in general. Every answer. Needless to say, I failed that test, and in a moment, everything turned around. Any golfers in the room? Besides Ben? Ben and Aaron, okay, two of you. Another quick example, and then we'll really get going. I was going to a driving range. Even if you don't golf, driving ranges are fun, right? You just do whatever you want. You hit the balls, you throw the club, you do it and you leave. I'm not serious, so I'm out there just kind of messing around. It was the first time I had gone to a driving range like in a long time, and I was getting the balls from the machine. You know what I'm talking about? And I hear the machine rumbling, and I'm just kind of waiting, practicing my swing. Ben, was this good? Yeah, it's not good. And I hear the rumbling in the machine, and as I look in this long line, everyone's got a bucket, and I don't have a bucket. And I'm like, oh, and I hear this rumbling, and next thing you know, I run to go get a bucket, and these balls are flying everywhere on this concrete ground. I mean, everywhere. And everyone's laughing at me. Nobody's helping me. And here I am trying to catch these balls like you're at Chuck E. Cheese trying to get the tickets. I was a grown male doing this in my 20s. But in those two moments, those are just some examples of how life in a moment can change so rapidly. And out of these soft, light-hearted examples, I'm sure we all have experiences, and we can even grab this mic ourselves and probably bring the crowd to tears with the moments that life has changed unexpectedly for the worse. Anybody ever had a moment where things changed, but not in a good way? Things changed in a way that you didn't anticipate, you didn't see coming, you couldn't plan ahead for. Maybe you're online and you're watching and you're saying, my marriage was falling apart, my parents got a divorce, I got that phone call that I was getting fired, and sometimes in life, things change. And I want us today to actually focus in just for a few minutes and understand that God is not just taking away to give us something worse, but He's often allowing things to be taken from us only to give us something better. And that's why I've titled this message, The Turnaround. Today I want you to begin to think of the areas in your life that God is turning around, or the areas in your life that you're believing God to turn around. Is there anybody in this room saying there's some stuff in my life that like would be really cool if it was turned around? There's some relationships, some financial struggles, some beliefs, some dreams, some visions. And today I want us to understand often what God is doing in the waiting. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Just because it hasn't come to pass yet does not mean God is not longing to bring you that healing. Just because you're still in the waiting doesn't mean that God has stopped working. Amen? I've found in life to really discover people's true character, we have to look at not just their actions, but their reactions. Because who are we in life when things don't go our way really does reveal who we are in general. I try to help people that are looking to date someone. They're saying, man, they're so pretty. They always have their Bible, like they're doing all the right things. And I just encourage them, hey, don't look at their actions, but look at their reactions, because it's easy to kind of like model our actions to be perfect and to look really sharp. But when someone cuts you off, are you still that same like super holy Christian that like, you know what I mean? When someone gets in front of you in line, some of you go crazy. The other day I was at a grocery store and this old lady was like, oh, I only had like one thing. I had a whole cart. And then I was like, oh, go ahead. And the guy behind me was like, did you let her do that? Like freaking out. I'm like, dude, yeah, it's going to be okay. And he was not having it. He changed lines. You see, our reactions in life, I believe, really reveal our true character and our true integrity. And for us to understand that, I want to jump into Acts chapter 9, verse 36 through 42, if you have your Bible. Anybody have a physical Bible? Let's go. Anybody got a phone Bible? Not as holy. I'm only serious. I want to read about Dorcas. Let's just stop here for a second. When I get to heaven, there's a few things I want to do. I want to talk to David, talk about how he killed Goliath. I'd love to talk to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And on that list is talking to Dorcas's parents, because it's just, Dorcas, like some of you might even be like, I don't love my name, and if there's a Dorcas in the room, I'm sorry. I've never met a Dorcas, so the odds are really in my favor today. But we got a girl, her name is Dorcas, and I want to talk about how she was raised from the dead. I'm going to call her Tabitha because that's her other name. She had two names. If I was her, I would have just X'd out Dorcas forever, but she didn't. A woman who was a follower lived in the city of Joppa. Her name was Tabitha or Dorcas. She did many good things and many acts of kindness, yet one day she became sick and died. Pause here for a moment. I want to make it very clear that no matter how much we do for God, no matter how much we serve, no matter how much we give, as long as we are on this earth, we are still promised hardship and sickness and troubles. I've mentioned this before, but one of the most common questions I would get in youth ministry when we would go on to the high schools in LA is, if God is all these things, if God is so good, then how come bad things continue to happen to good people? Yet we see here Tabitha, she did many good things and many acts of kindness. As I began to read more in other contexts, she would make clothes for those who didn't have clothes. She would give out blankets and she would knit and sew, and her whole life was built to serve others. Yet she still experienced sickness and even died. After they had washed her body, they laid her in a room on the second floor. The city of Lydda was near Joppa. The followers heard that Peter was at Lydda and sent 2 men to ask to come out at once. Peter went back with them. When he came, they took him to the room. All the women whose husbands had died were standing around crying. They were showing the clothes Dorcas had made while she was with them. I want to ask you this today. What will be said of your life when you are no longer here with us? Will you be the person that people talked of? He was a great man and he was served. Or will you be the person that people would say, oh, he was a great man and he served others? Will they talk about how you put yourself before others, or how you put others before yourself? What will be said when we are dead and gone? Because we know the word is very clear. Life is but a vapor. You ever sprayed cologne or something? How long does it last? Even a second? Not really. It's here today and gone tomorrow. And I want us to understand that outside of the clothes that we wear, the car that we drive, the money that we have in our pockets or our bank account, the house that we live in, what will be said of us are simply the things that we did for others, the things that we did for those who couldn't repay us, the things that we did for those who were broken and couldn't help us get to our dreams. And I know LA is all about networking, that community building. Can you help me in what I'm doing? And if not, I just don't have time for that because I'm on a journey, I'm on a grind and a hustle. But we see Jesus loving those who could do nothing for him. It's one thing to love someone who can help elevate us to where we believe God has called us to be, but what about the people who actually can't do anything for us in the dreams and visions that God has given us? Maybe the first example that might come to your mind is helping the homeless. Maybe another example is helping a coworker, not just a boss, but believing in faith that God is going to meet them. How are we doing in our life at serving others in the way that Jesus would serve them? I'll continue reading. Peter made them all leave the room. Then he got down on his hands and knees and prayed. He turned to her body and said, Tabitha, get up. She opened her eyes and looked at Peter and sat up. He took her by the hand and lifted her up. Then he called in the faithful followers and the woman whose husbands had died. He gave her to them, a living person. News of this went all through Joppa. Many people put their trust in the Lord. And as you keep reading, you'll find in later chapters, Tabitha went on directly to serving others again. Like if I was serving people and I died and I came back to life, I wonder if I would go directly back to serving and meeting the needs of those that were broken. Or would I kind of be like, yo, I served my time. I even died doing it. So like I graduated from serving others, right? Like it almost, if we could be honest, you're like, it's probably not the right answer, but if we could just be real, it almost makes sense. Like you died serving others, you lived a good life, you were brought back to life. Now it's time to live for yourself. Anybody really good at living for yourself? Let's just be honest. You're like, I'm good at just doing me. Anybody good at serving others? You would say genuinely, like, I'm actually pretty gifted at putting others before myself. I love that she continued to serve the broken. This week, I have to tie this in. We have an opportunity with this One Day LA. You say, how are you connecting this? I want us to understand that what we're doing in our city is far greater than an event, a concert at the end of the week, just coming together to have a good time, have a fun time. We are going out to the broken, to the hurting, to the lost, to the helpless, to the homeless, to the orphans, to the widow. And we are saying, God, if they matter to you, they matter to us. If they're your son, your daughter, we will love them in a way that you would and are going to through us. I want to talk a little bit about faith and fear for a minute. Is that okay? We doing good? Doing good? Devon, you doing good? I love Devon. I'm sorry, man, because he doesn't like getting shouted out. It's just, you're buff, you're looking. It's just, you're always there. It's you or Zach. I already know where you're at, bro. Straight to you. I want to talk about faith and fear for a second. Faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. Have we heard this verse? And fear, I looked up the definition of fear, and I'm going to tie these in together. It's an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. So both fear and faith, if you think about it, I want you to capture this. Fear and faith are both formed in the same soil of uncertainty. Think about this for a moment, because God opened my eyes to this as someone who's battled fear for many years of my life. I know the church is called Fearless, but for whatever reason, that's the very thing that I've struggled with for a good portion of my adult life. Fear, crippling fear, led to anxiety, to worry, whatever you want to title it. Ultimately, this impending feeling like something bad was going to happen. Yet faith is birthed in the same soil of not knowing what's next. If you're taking notes, I want you to write this down. Fear and faith are both born in the same soil of uncertainty. And to help illustrate this example, I have some soil. Can I get that soil real quick? It's manure, so if you have your masks, I'm kidding, it's not. Some of you guys are like, oh, he went for it. I'm a huge gardener, massive gardener. I mean, in my one-bedroom loft in downtown, my garden, it's remarkable. No, shouldn't believe me, please don't. But let's say this is the soil of your mind, right? We know that our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the dark powers, the principalities in this world. At the end of the day, you may not go out and fight a physical war against the things that the enemy is attacking us with, but on a daily basis, the battle, even if it's not out here, it is in here. Right? Has anybody ever experienced a battle where you could still manage to put a smile on your face, yet inside you're breaking down? How are you doing? I'm doing good, or I'm doing fine, as if God intended to send his son Jesus so that we could live a life where the best that we could get is fine. Today I want to tell you, if you get nothing else out of this message, God has not intended a life for you where your ultimate success, the peak of your adulthood is fine, is good enough, is okay. God has longed for you to walk in freedom. He longs for you to walk in joy. He longs for you to walk in peace and prosperity. Because we get to this place where we just start to write it off as normal. Wow. I've gotten there. Oh, I'm just depressed, brother. That's who I am. It's in my blood. Okay. Addiction's always been there. Like, that's a part of my family. Like, we almost start to own it. I've always been anxious. It's just kind of who I am. But man, God is good, brother. He is doing some miraculous things. But I did have a panic attack this morning. But let me tell you, the enemy is like, we get okay with almost living a life where we're struggling because we would write it off as, well, as long as I'm on earth. No, as long as you're on earth, you can contend for freedom. You can fight for joy. You can believe for breakthrough. We don't have to settle for what was. We don't have to settle for what is. We can believe that God is going to give us that breakthrough that we're believing for. It's in who, maybe it is a part of your family. Maybe your parents did go through that. Maybe addiction has always been there. But who's going to be the one that stands up to those strongholds? Who's going to be the one that says enough is enough? Who's going to be the very one in your family that says, yeah, it got to here, but it's not going any further. My daughter will not struggle with this. My children will not know anxiety. My family will not know depression. Who is going to be the one in your family that steps up to the attack of the enemy and says, enough is enough? So faith and fear are both birthed in this place of not knowing. Let me give you some examples to help you understand what I'm saying here. Losing your job. Could be transparent. Anybody lose their job in COVID? Anybody at all? I see quite a few hands going up. You lose your job and fear kicks in. That uncertainty, another word would be not knowing. Anybody like not knowing what's next? Oh, nothing drives me more crazy. I am not kidding you. Nothing in life drives me crazier than not knowing what's next, especially in LA, because every day people are like, what are your dreams? What's your vision? What's your goals? It's like, dude, I actually don't, you don't know? You don't know? You're a failure. That's how you feel. Maybe the conversations don't look exactly like that, but what are your 6-month goals, 1-year goals, 12-year goals? I'm like, I don't know. I don't have a day goal. I'm hungry. What do you want to eat? And you're like, I don't know that either, so I'm really done. It's a tough city to not know what's next and feel okay. It's a tough city to live in and not know what the next year, the next week looks like. But can I tell you this? The presence of our living God thrives in the unknown. Oh, I had to figure this out the hard way. I'm telling you, church, the presence of who Jesus is thrives in a place where we don't know what's next. Because when we don't know what's next, that's when we lean on Him. When we don't know where the money's coming from, that's when we go to Him. When we don't know where that sickness is going to come and go, that's when we look up to heaven. It's in that place of not knowing you lose your job and fear kicks in. I got 2 kids. I'm not going to have enough. My rent's a lot. You fill in the blank. We're going to be without, we're not going to, and we begin to sow into the soil of our mind that fear, but in that same opportunity of losing your job, you can have a faith that says, God took care of me then, He'll take care of me again. You can have a faith that says, I know it's scary, but I believe because look at what He's already done. You can have a faith that says, if God is taking this from me, what greater thing is He bringing me into? How about this one? Your marriage is struggling. We're going to get real. I'm not going to give you examples of lighthearted things that aren't really going to hit home. I want to talk about real things that we're really battling in this room or have been before. Your marriage is struggling. Well, divorce just runs in my family. Like it's a thing, right? Same thing as just becoming okay with not okay. My parents got divorced and we sow these seeds of fear. And I'm sure I'm going to get a divorce. And we begin to sow into this. I really wasn't that good of a husband and I could have done things better, and we sow that fear. We can sow in the same opportunity of our marriage falling apart. We can sow seeds of faith that say, no, the commitment I made is not for a day or a moment, but it's a lifelong commitment of saying yes to Jesus. I'm going to fight for this marriage, and this is only going to make our marriage stronger. It's in this place where we don't know what's next, where the presence of our living God thrives. So let me ask you this question. Are you okay with not knowing what's next? I've seen the Instagram people. They're like yelling at you and they're going in and the goals and the dreams. And someone asked me the other day, like, what are your goals? And it's a normal question. That's an okay question. And I just was straight up, what's your long-term goals? And I was like, I don't really have any crazy long-term goals. It's like one of those awkward questions. The whole table's like, okay. This guy, huh? I just was like, I want to be a good father. I want to be a good husband. I want to be a good friend. I'm not just saying this because it sounds nice. I don't really have like a 6-month, I got to be here, because I've done that. And good God, nothing made me more discouraged in my life than creating goals for myself in that way. God can give you a vision. God can give you a dream, but does that dream become what you're working toward? Or does serving Jesus become what you're working toward? And if it's from God, then I know it's going to come to pass. So I don't have to work it out on my own. The second that we get in control, control's a scary place to live your life. trying to control your health when you can't, trying to control your finances when you can't. We'd say, well, I'm in control. Yeah, God's given us free will, but I don't want to be in control because I've placed Him in charge. I don't need the daily decisions of where I'm going to be in the next 10 years because I'm just going to make Him my author and finisher. I know that He has a plan for me far greater than ever I could have for myself, and I'm going to continue to operate in this way. Maybe it's fear of not having kids. Well, we didn't have one then, and we got pregnant, but we miscarried, and so now I'm just going to sow those seeds of fear, and the doctors said I couldn't, but what about faith? I want you to think about the very things that you're going through today. What is faith saying and what is fear saying? What is it for you? I could come up with 20 examples up here, but I don't know exactly what you're going through. And I could tell you right now, I said, what is fear saying? And you would be able to give me 20 responses. What is faith saying? What is Jesus saying over your marriage? What is Jesus saying over your finances? What is Jesus saying over your business that seems like it's falling apart? I know what fear says. Fear is loud. Fear is present. Fear is there. But sometimes we have to turn our attention away from fear and build it on faith. Whatever we feed grows. What are you feeding in your life? What are you feeding in this soil? And I think oftentimes we get into this position where we can almost become spiritually lazy. And follow me on this for a second. Well, brother, it's in God's hands. You ever heard that at least? I don't want to say you ever said that because you probably don't want to admit it. And we can almost become physically motivated yet spiritually lazy. Laziness is not a trait that anyone wants to have. I've never met a girl who's like, I don't care what he looks like. I'm not really, you already know where I'm going. I'm not super concerned with his build. I mean, looks don't matter to me, but I want him to be lazy. Any girl in the room would say that? Any guy in the room, you want a lazy girl? Guys are a little different. You can't ask guys, like, sure, I'm cool with that. Guys are like, yeah, I'm down, you lazy? I don't know whose voice that is, but it's... Can't ask the guys. Girls know what they want. Guys don't know what they want until they see it. Nobody aspires to be lazy. These Instagram people, these people that are motivators and entrepreneurs and whatever you want to call them nowadays, like nobody's giving you the 5 tips to overcome passion and the 5 tips to grow in your laziness. No, it's not a thing. We don't aspire to be lazy yet. I've found in our faith sometimes those very people who wake up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym and they have their 3 meetings by 6 a.m. They take a 2-minute nap and then they get their lunch and next thing you know, they're going to bed at noon because they need... Sometimes those very people, although they are physically motivated, can spiritually be lazy. Where's their Bible? Where are they in their word? Where are they in their faith? And I don't say this to discourage you if you find yourself there, because I believe oftentimes it's easier to work on the outside appearance than it is to work on the inside. You can see if I'm not taking care of myself physically quickly. I mean, if I were to have McDonald's twice a day for a week, it wouldn't be good. 5 days, you're good. I've done it. So often as believers, we find ourselves in this position where the first thing we take care of is our outward appearance, from our clothes, to our look, to the haircut, to the gym, to our health, to our diet. Yet spiritually, we can be dying. See, people come into this church excited, passionate, sharp. It's like, man, they're broken at the altar, yet 2 weeks later, we never see them again. It's not because they aren't a good person. It's not because they aren't a son or a daughter in God, but maybe they're sowing seeds that aren't long-term. Maybe we're not getting planted in the very things that matter. You see, I am more impressed and I admire people more, far greater than their outside appearance, their inward heart. Who are they with God? What level of faith do they walk in? What authority do they carry? What mantle are they walking in? And today we all have an opportunity when it comes to this place of not knowing what's next to sow seeds of fear or of faith. And I want to ask you today, what are you sowing? We know all through Scripture, God promises that He is going to multiply what is sown. 30 times, 60 times, 100 times. I just want to know, is there any parable, any verse, any story in the Bible where God promises to multiply the seeds in our pocket? Is there any moment where He says, I'm going to multiply 30, 60, 100 times the seeds that are sown, but even those of you that hold the seeds in your pocket, I'm going to multiply it 2 times. You see, the Bible is very clear that God is longing to multiply in our life in every aspect of the word, but God cannot multiply the seeds that are not sown. And this person's always getting blessed. It feels like God's really in their life, but here I am struggling. I wouldn't look at the outward appearance, but where are your seeds? Are you sowing into good soil? Are you sowing at all? And the easiest way to find out what we're sowing, if we could go here for a second. You guys doing all right? The easiest way to find out what you're sowing is to see what you're producing. You can imagine with me, probably no farmers in the room, I won't even ask. If I'm looking at a field and I see a bunch of pumpkins, I'm like, yep, I planted apple trees. And that voice, it's a farmer voice, if you didn't know. All farmers have that voice. You would look at me like, for sure you didn't. Not true. Bunch of apple seeds I put down here last season, watered them, pumpkins decided to show up. You'd be like, hey brother, you're lost it. You're gone. So let me help relate this outside of a farming sense. What are we producing in our life? If it's toxic relationships that we're producing, we have to look at the seeds of insecurity that we're sowing. Let's get real for a second. For me, if it's anxiety that I am producing, what seeds of control am I sowing? Some people, man, I'm just bound by lust. Well, what are you sowing? What are you looking at? What are you investing your time into? If it's gossip that's being produced, what seeds of distrust are you sowing? Everyone's always coming to me to gossip. All right, pause there. You know what I mean? Everyone just feels comfortable with me. I just instantly 6 steps, 6 feet COVID rule them right there just cause. What are we producing in our life? And we have to understand that whatever we are reaping is a direct sign of whatever we have been sowing. Or even take a step back from that. Whatever we are reaping maybe even isn't just a representation of what we are sowing, but what our parents have sowed. What their parents have sowed. I do believe that you can come into a family where seeds of fear, seeds of worry, seeds of addiction have already been sowed. But I do believe, you ever pulled a weed? Imagine if you saw weed and you're like, dang it, we're done. Sell the house. It's there, the weed. Somebody would just be like, just pull it out. We're good. All is good. Yet sometimes in our life, we just become okay writing it off as a generational curse, whatever you want to call it. I believe those things can exist, but what about a generational blessing? What about generational favor? What about generational anointing? What about generational breakthrough power that God has already placed within us? Are we writing it off as okay because it's been there? Who's going to be the one in our family line that steps up to the plate and says, enough is enough? Today I want to ask, what are you sowing? I want to read Matthew chapter 13, verses 18 through 23. Listen then to what the parable of the sower means. When anyone hears the message about the kingdom and does not understand it, the evil one comes and snatches away what was sown in their heart. This is the seed sown along the path. The seed falling on rocky ground refers to someone who hears the word and at once receives it with joy, but since they have no root, they last only a short time. So not only what are you sowing, but where are you sowing it? Let's think about this for a second. You could have seeds of faith. Struggling. You could have seeds of faith, but are you sowing it into a dead-end relationship? I'm not talking about marriage. I'm talking about that dating relationship that you've dragged on for 3 years, and he just doesn't like to come to church because it's like not his, no. He is falling behind in his walk with God, and you need to move on to something better that God has for you. Maybe today it's not as much what are you sowing, but where are you sowing it? Relationships in the church, people who want to mentor you, people who want to see you get better, yet you still spend your seeds of faith on those coworkers who want nothing but for you to fail. Not only what are we sowing, but where are we sowing those seeds of faith that God has given us in this house today? They have no root, they last only a short time. When trouble or persecution comes because of the word. Trouble and persecution will come because of the word. But the worries of this life and the deceitfulness of wealth choke the word, making it unfruitful. But the seed falling on good soil refers to someone who hears the word and understands it. You see, it's important that we don't just hear this word, but we actually take the time to understand what God is speaking to us in our very life, in our day-to-day experiences with him. This is the one who produces a crop yielding 160 or 30 times what was sown. Today I want to ask you, what are you sowing and where are you sowing it? Very simple message, very simple concept. Yet if I could be honest, I've gone through experiences where I'm asking God to take them away. God, take away anxiety, take away this, take away fear, take away the depression. Yet in my own ability to control things, I'm sowing into the very things that I'm asking God to take away. Take away this lust, yet we sow into things that we shouldn't see. Take away this anger, yet we sow into gossip and unforgiveness. And we're asking God to take away the plants, yet every day we wake up, we sow into the soil of our minds and our hearts, the fear and the doubt and the insecurity, yet we wonder why God hasn't taken it away. God's not gonna come in your life and take away the things that you're gripping onto. I wish he would. It would be really easy if God would just come in and make us do the right thing, right? I mean, if we could be honest, if he just forced us out of that relationship, if he just kind of made us do the right thing, but God has given us the ability to have free will so that we can freely choose him, yet at the same time, we can freely choose sin and death and destruction. What are we choosing today? If I could have the piano come up, I want to close here in a moment, but I was praying where I was actually with my daughter. I'm a great dad. I'm the best dad. And I'm really humble about it. I'm not the best dad. I've cried 12 times this morning. And I was holding my daughter and I was feeding her with the bottle. She doesn't latch to me. And thank you, Sway. I thought that one would hit better. It didn't. It's too weird. It was too weird, yeah. And I was feeding her and it was in our closet. We have a 1-bedroom apartment here in downtown with like a large walk-in. And so we turned our walk-in closet into like a little nursery. And I was feeding her and she loves worship. I'm not just saying that because that sounds nice. Like she screams as though like there's a demon coming out. But then we put on worship and she's this perfect angel. I don't know what it is, but I'm thankful for worship music. I'll take any recommendations right now. And there were a few different songs that were playing and the song came on, Defender. You guys heard that song? We've sang it, amazing song. I love that song. Every time I'm be on the ground just broken, guaranteed. And this song came on and I was feeding her and I had this flashback, this moment where last year I was going through my own struggles, my own battle. I won't get into the details. I've shared briefly on this, but I had this flashback when I would listen to this song, literally. You ever had like a song? I'm talking like 10 times a day minimum. And I'm holding her and she's eating and I'm looking at her. And this song came on and I just became overwhelmed by the presence of God. I mean, literally, I just started crying. I felt bad because I was like crying all over her face and like she's like not having it. Thought it would be cute, the tears, and she's like, no, stop, I'm hungry. And I genuinely felt a presence in that closet like I had never known. And flashback a year ago, I was battling my own struggles as extreme as I could ever imagine with anxiety and depression and panic attacks, things that I used to be like, oh, people just say that for attention, to be honest. And here I am battling, thinking I'm gonna die, not eating, losing 40 pounds, getting to a place where I was so broken, yet I needed Jesus. You could ask my wife, every day I would spend hours in this closet. Every day I would go in there and I would try to sleep or I would pray. I would sometimes fall asleep and wake up at like 5 a.m. in this closet. And I didn't know what to do, but the word is very clear. When we don't know what to do, all we need to do is keep our eyes on Jesus.
Yeah, so good.
Again, it's okay to not know what's next, but it's not okay to take your eyes off the only one who does. Here I was holding my daughter, completely freed of all these things that I genuinely never felt I would be free from. I was at that depth, that low. You ever been in a place where you're like, I actually don't think I'm ever gonna make it out? For the first time in my life, I lost the faith that God was actually gonna deliver me. I experienced such a low that I'm like, I don't think I can make it out of this place. Yet here I am a year later listening to the same song, holding my daughter, and I had no idea that every single tear I cried in that closet was not for myself. But I heard so clearly as I would pray in that room last year, it was hard to hear the voice of God. You ever struggle so much, like you miss what God's saying, you can't really make out the voice of God anymore, and I was broken, yet I would always hear God say, I'm doing something and I'm gonna bring you into the best season of your life. Your tears are sowing into good soil, and I'm like, cool, but like I need help now. I need God to do something now. And here I was a year later and I'm holding my daughter, and for the first time ever, I had a perfect illustration in my own life of the reality that God will never waste the pain that you've gone through. God will never take those tears of pain and not turn them into tears of joy. God will never take that sickness and allow it to become your story. God will never take those low moments and replace it with something lower. The tears and the pain and the situations that you've gone through, if we continue to sow into that soil with faith, God, I don't know what you're doing, but I trust you. God, I'm struggling, but I trust you. I'm broke, but I trust you. If you did it then I know you'll do it again. And you have to begin to have faith in the Creator himself. We can't have more faith in ourselves than we do in God. What is God longing for you to sow today? And what are you sowing? Often we vent about things not realizing it's actually evidence of what's been sown. We begin to talk about the very things I ask God to just take it away. God doesn't just take it away. He asked me to take away the very things that I was sowing into. God, take away this pain, take it away. And here I was in this position where I realized God isn't just going to take away something, especially something that I am sowing into. God doesn't long for us to live a life where at best we could say we're fine. God is not going to meet you in this place and give you enough joy to get through the next 2 days. God is not looking to come and take away that addiction for a week or a month. God is longing to set you free. But I know as believers, we think God is going to do everything. And in all reality, God will do everything. But we have to meet him in the middle in a level of faith that says, God, I will not sow fear into the places where I don't know what's next. I will choose on a daily basis to sow into what you have for me. The faith that you are building in me is for something far greater ahead than anything I've gone through. If we could stand to our feet. If you're still here in this room, then God is still a healer. If you're still present, then he's still a provider. If you're still faith-filled, he's still faithful. And if you're still persevering, then he's still powerful. And even if you aren't, he's still there. That's what I love about God. It's not just as if we're doing these things, then God will meet us. Even if we're not, even if we've lost that faith. Maybe you're in this room and you're like, look, cool that you kind of had some faith still, but like I left that faith 3 years ago. How about me, David? Like I'm believing, but my family member actually did pass away. So I appreciate the encouragement and the sowing and the seeds and the jokes, but I'm actually in a position where what I was praying for not to happen did happen. What about then? God's still there. God's still in it. God's still with you. And nothing is too far from the hand of our Father to meet. There is no sin too great, no addiction too strong, no depression too deep, no anxiety too overwhelming, no marriage too fallen apart. No home life too a wreck. No job or no business too far gone for our loving Father to meet. But it's not just a matter of us showing up in this house. It's a matter of us getting rid of this packet of fear because it's never done us any good and it never will. And beginning to sow seeds of faith into the very things that people would say are dead. You could have looked at Tabitha and said, no, she's for sure dead. But Peter was able to look at her and see life in her. You know why Peter was able to do this? I want to say this and I'll close. In another chapter in the same book, Peter's mother-in-law died. And he was able to pray for her and see her come to life. Now he's here in this moment where this woman has died. Where is he pulling his faith from? His experiences. Sometimes we need to pull out that CVS receipt. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, that one. God, he can't do it. It's too far gone. He's never done it. No, let's just begin to look at what he's already done in your life. Didn't he heal you then? Yeah, but it's different. Okay, didn't he bring you out of depression then? Yeah, but that was younger. I hadn't gone through. Didn't he restore your parents' marriage? Can't he restore yours? And sometimes the very thing that builds up that faith in us is just looking at all that God has already done. Even if we don't have the stories, they're in here of God time and time again meeting our needs. He's good for it. And that turnaround is not too far gone. That turnaround is right before you if you would just pick up the faith in your life rather than the fear. If we could all close our eyes in this room. If you're in this place with nobody looking around and you would say, you know what, if I could be honest, David, there are some things in my life that I know God needs to turn around. Would you just boldly lift up your hand? Just lift it up. Is that me? If you feel that, lift up your hand. You're saying there's some things, some areas, some elements of my heart, of my mind that I need God to turn around. I want you to pray this prayer after me. Hands are up all across this room. Say, Jesus, I give up. Just wait there for a second. I can't get up. I gotta fight. I gotta push. I gotta figure it out. I gotta know what's next. No, there's something powerful about genuinely surrendering everything. Say it again. Say, Jesus, I surrender all. God, say it. Say, God, I lay it down. I give you everything. I give you all of me. Jesus, I pray that you would meet every single person in this room. God, every single hand that's being represented, I pray, God, that it would represent a hand of surrender. God, not partial surrender. God, not I give up, but tomorrow morning I got to figure it out. I give up and I lay it down at your feet, but God, I'm still going to make it work. No, God, a surrender that says if you don't do it, it doesn't happen. If God doesn't deliver me, then nobody can. God, would you meet us in this place? Would you meet us, God, in this house? I'm going to open this altar. And I believe God is longing for us to lay down the very things that we've been gripping onto for so long. And as we go into a song of worship, true surrender doesn't figure anything out. My daughter, when she needs me, she doesn't have to figure out. She just screams and cries. And eventually I wake up if Sarah hasn't, and I do it. But we have to understand, as sons and daughters, God is not longing for a partial surrender. He's not longing for a piece of our heart for a moment, for an hour, for a day. When Jesus gave his life for us, he was longing for us to say, God, we give you every part of who we are. And as we go into this song of worship, I want to open this altar. And as you begin to worship in a way that you never have, I encourage you. I would just ask you, would you look into every area, every aspect of your life that you would say, man, it's too far gone for a turnaround, and say, God, I trust you again. I lean into you again. I believe you can do it again in Jesus' name. We thank you, Father. Meet us here in this moment.
Fearless Online Church, man, what an amazing day so far. Right now is an opportunity for us to give back. We've been receiving so much. I don't know about you, but I've been blessed from what's going on in this stream and what God is doing in this church. Proverbs 19:17 says this: whoever is generous to the poor lends to the Lord, and he, the Lord, will repay him for his deeds. This church is all about reaching the needs of our city and cities worldwide. In fact, last year alone, we were able to pass out 2.2 million pounds of food. Come on, somebody, that's a lot of food. We gave out food, and we were able to pray for every single person. We also washed their cars, pretty much the modern day version of washing someone's feet. Man, what an awesome experience that we've got to have through generous givers just like you. You may not be able to be here on ground zero level, feeding people, clothing people, loving on people, but you sure can be a part of this by giving your finances and lending, in a sense, to the Lord. And we know that you can't outgive God. I've found over 41 years of life that no matter how much I give to the Lord, he always gives back. He gives back so much more, no matter how much I release. I really believe that the spirit of generosity is alive in our generation. We need to meet people's physical needs so they'll open their heart so God can meet their spiritual need. Would you help us do that? We want to give out more clothing. We want to give out more food. We want to touch thousands more people. In fact, this year, I'm believing to give out 4 million pounds of food. Would you step out in faith with us? Would you become a partner today? Everything in life, to get anywhere, really takes partnership. Every one of us are here because of partnership. Life happens because of partnership. I have a dream that we would reach people's physical need to give them a spiritual truth. who Jesus is, who Jesus wants to be in their life, that love that we so boldly profess as Christians. Would you pray today about your gift, whatever size, large or small, that you're going to partner with us once a month to see God do something incredible in a city? You can sign up for Fearless Partners today. Why wait another day? Let's be generous like our God and watch that generous God, while we bless others, continue to fill our vats, our barns, our dream, our business, our family fuller than we ever could have ourselves. God bless you as you give today. Let me pray over your giving, as I believe people are moved today to become generous and partner with the Fearless Partners. Jesus, we pray over this giving. We pray over these people that are going to sow into this ministry. We say right now, God, Lord, as we lend to the poor, as we help those in need, Lord, that you would help those that are giving. In Jesus' name, amen.
Wow, what a great message. Again, if you're new here, text Fearless to our Fearless number. We would love to connect and give you a gift. So glad you guys can make it out. We'll see you again on Sunday. Have a good rest of your weekend.